just thought I'd do a bit of a catch up on this pergola, and this is the Cloister Pergola. And I thought, let's have a look at it, let's see what we've got going on, where the plants are at in it. As I've said before, there's still a lot of growing to do here, but we've got quite a lot of plants in here now. And it's a lovely place to sit because of that view that we get through there. So I'm still really deciding whether some of these plants need to be changed, moved, or replaced with others. And I've not yet made my mind up. One thing I'm very happy with though is this rose here, and this is Rosa Starlight Symphony. And it's growing lovely up this post now. Now I have tied it into there, that's strictly not growing up on its own. You can see I've connected this little bit of a wire to keep it growing, and it has a lovely scent, and it is a subtle scent, it's nothing pungent or outstanding, but it's a very nice rose, and it keeps flowering. This is its second flush it's going through at the moment. Now I always tell people to deadhead quite often, but on this particular one I like to keep some of these. Now I think I'm actually going to have to take some of these flowers off because it's not producing, it's got too many to be quite honest. And what I'm after is this hip, because this one has a lovely hip there. It develops later in the year. Well, it's developing it now, but that goes a really bright red, so it's quite nice. So I learned very early on to keep the hips on this and don't take all of the flowers off of it. That's the Euphorbia Excalibur, and I've had to tie it up because it's its own worst enemy when it gets into flower. It does tend to flop over. But it's doing all right. That's about 4 foot tall. Excellent spring plant when it comes up, has excellent colour, and it still looks good now. The wind did most of the damage to it. It got in here when it first got its flowers, and it splayed it a little bit, but it's looking all right now. So I'm not averse to tying things and to keeping them in the place. That's what I've done with that one. So maybe that might be a plant for the future to be moved. I don't know at the moment. We shall decide that in the future. Now, Viburnum Davidii, talked about these plenty of times. This is one of those, the shrub there, obviously. And in this planter here, I've got what we call rhodiola, and it's Rhodiola rosea. And it's a nice little plant that does quite well in containers, as you can see from that, and it's quite an unusual one as well. There's nothing spectacular about it, it's just a little nice plant that does well. And to the left of it we've got this Miscanthus, and this is Miscanthus sinensis, and that's a Yakujima dwarf. I call it Yakushimensis because that's why I originally bought it as. Helps me to identify the particular one that I've got. Here we've got an Aster fricatii monk, and this is definitely in the wrong place. It's nowhere near the size it should be. It was moved quite late on, but irrespective of that, it should still be bigger than this, and I do not think it likes this. It likes a bit more sun, and it's not really enjoying it there, so we shall move it. Got another Miscanthus in here. That's Miscanthus cabaret. It's a real nice one, has this lovely striation in its leaf. That's lovely, good doer. Still a young plant, still growing. Then behind it we've got Physocarpus, and that particular one is Midnight, and that's acting as a backdrop. That's where originally I had the Cortaderia Patagonia, if you remember, and I said I didn't think it was going to get enough sunshine, but it was doing quite well actually. But I've moved it now, so we have to accept what I've done. The roses are doing really well now on there. And that's Rosa Gertrude Jekyll, and it's coming into a second flush. You can see the odd flower. Now that one doesn't have such a great hip. I can see there's more flowers coming, looking at it, some more new growth, and it's doing all right at the minute. I've just got to keep my eye on it and keep it growing up and through all the different ironwork that I've got there, and we shall make it walk along the top of this as well at some point. It won't go much further because it's about where I think it's going to grow, although I think it may make another foot or 2 foot. It's doing all right. Doing all right. Yeah, as I said, there's more flowers coming. There's lots actually coming in. Then the new growth. I love the new growth on roses. I actually like it more at this point than when it starts maturing. These, as with most roses, can suffer black spot. That one is. I do tend to remove them from time to time. Not always though. I can be a bit idle like that, but I don't worry too much about it. So behind there, that's Helianthus salicifolius, and that's the Afghan elm plant, and that'll produce some yellow flowers on top of there, and it's lovely. It's really, really grown for its, well, for that look. Exactly that look. It's failing, it can flop a bit, so I actually contain it again. I contain it in that metal ring that I've put in to stop it flopping, because they're not really supposed to flop, and if you water them heavily, they'll be fine. So this is the sheep bale feeder, and it's got a silver birch in it, a Jacumontii utilis. It's really nice. I really like it. I love birches actually. Really do like birches. And I decided that I'd like to showcase it inside that. I've got 3 of those rings around the garden, and I like to put these in. And that's doing really well. I've been working on it. It's getting a nice shape now, and as I keep saying, you've really got to work on the shape of these things. Don't expect them to produce their own shape perfect without a bit of human intervention. We're getting there with it now. We're removing some of the inner branches, and I keep removing some of the inner branches just to keep it in check. And I want it to have the perfect shape. And eventually I will let it go, and it'll get up to probably 25 foot now. But that's going to be perfect as far as I'm concerned. Now, last year I actually planted this up with a Euphorbia whistleberry garnet, which turned out to be a little bit too successful. And I never put any barrier in there, which I should maybe have done on hindsight. I should definitely have done. Created a barrier, a bit like the bamboo barrier I've got on the miscanthus. And I should have put that in there, and that would have contained it, but it didn't work. So I removed it. And then I put in a geranium, which was supposed to be Roseanne, one of the best. Turned out to be not Roseanne. In fact, I put one to the outside as well to make it look like it was escaping, because this is easy to control. And that's what it actually turned into. So it was mislabeled, which was very annoying for me. So what I've done now is I've put these in, and this is the Japanese forest grass. These little grasses are going to look great. They're going to get 2 foot, if not 3 foot wide, by 2 foot high, and they're going to look really nice in there. And they have this lovely natural flow to them. So they're going to do really well. They're going to really suit it. It's getting a nice colour now. It's only been in the garden 2.5 years, but the peeling that it's doing, and I actually call this bark therapy. I love it. I love getting in there and just peeling away. You've got to be very careful, because if you're not careful, you'll end up doing some damage to it. But the tree will let you know when it's ready to be peeled, and it'll just come away so easily. And I just like to help it, which I'm doing. I like to help it along and get rid of some of that bark. It's just a satisfying job to do. Give it a whiz. So that's going to be really nice in the future, that. As I say, I love Jacumontii. They're better than just ordinary Petula pendulus, which is the native one in Britain. I much prefer this one. Got Rosa glauca here, and this is the Himalayan musk rose. It's got some lovely berries, and this will seed around. Hopefully it will seed around. It's not as big as it should be. It will be bigger. It can be a small tree or a large shrub. And I've been pruning this one accordingly, and it's turning more into a shrub. I'd rather it be a little tree, but actually it's going to look quite good here. And a little bit more work on that should have a big impact on its future. And it starts out with these bluish leaves, really, they are. And then the stems are more sort of reddy purple. That's a young one just coming up now, but they're more reddy purple in spring. They stand out quite a lot. And then it has these lovely hips. Quite early, actually, then. They're nice. So they have the ordinary dog rose flower on them, which is quite nice. I really like them. And as it says, the Himalayan musk rose, so it does have a musky smell to it. Quite nice. We'll keep that going and probably develop it over time. So yeah, there's one or two. Oh, there's a couple of astrantes in here. Again, Muriel's gift that are on the second flowering. As you can see, that one's about to start again. But I fear, alas, that I need to move the aster. That Aster fricatii, monk. It needs to be moved. It's not happy. It needs to go. So we'll take that out, put it further up the garden where it is happy. I've got all the ones up the garden and they're very happy. More sun. That's all that's required. So it's looking really nice. We've got a little bit of Lamium here. Lamium ovala. Beautiful. Well-behaved plant. A nettle. But not a stinging nettle. But has a very nice flower in early spring. So once that gets clumping in there, that's going to look better. So there's a lot of developing to do in here yet, but we're getting there. It's all time. We can't force things on. So going to the other side, we've got a fern. Can't remember what the fern is. I've got no doubt I've left the label somewhere in here. I don't know which one it is. It'll be a Drypteris of some description. We've got clematis growing up this wire, which is doing really well. And it's a Viticelli, it's Clematis Viticelli, and it's called Dark Eyes. It has some lovely purple deep flowers on that. They've already gone through. And now they're starting this, and a lot of people don't realise that they do this. They give this, where's the best example I can show you? There's one there. So you can just notice this here. It's not really focusing on that. Very difficult to focus on smaller things with this camera. But that will fluff up into almost, in fact, it'll almost look like this, which is actually a weed. But the flowers will look very similar to that, but more dense. So if you're not used to that, it's like a pom-pom, really. Get ready for it, it's going to look good. And also here we've got Brunera. Now, I don't know if this is, I don't know if it's Jack Frost or Sea Heart. I'm thinking it's Sea Heart, but I haven't got the label. I don't believe I kept the label on this one, which is a bit daft again. But we didn't. And we've got a bamboo as well. Got this bamboo in here. That's a nice bamboo, that. Like that. I'll put the description of that bamboo. It's a real good one. It's Giazegu, but I can't always say it, so I always fear saying it. And it's a red bamboo. There's one called Red Dragon. I don't know whether this is that particular one, but it's doing really well. And this is a cutting or a split from my original one, which is further up the garden. And they do quite well. If you take the split at the right time, it'll be very successful. And when I did the original split of this, there was only, I think, 2 canes, maybe 3 canes on it. So it's doing really well. And we have this particular fern. And this one's called Dre's Dagger. And I'm not overly impressed with this particular one. I've had a better one than this, and it's supposed to be more red inside, down those stalks. But this one, not impressing me because it's not really doing it. So it's an Athrium Felix Femina Dre's Dagger. I love it. I love the name, but I'm sure I originally bought it because of the red stem. But they do look like daggers. You can see, looks like a little dagger. I've got another Athrium here, and this one's called Ghost. Or is it Silver Ghost? No, I'm sure it's just Ghost. I'll look that up and put it on the screen. Then next to it, we've got these little hostas. These are what they call tripartums. And they're very unusual hostas, but they've been really, really nice this year. They've been doing really well. They don't get a lot of attention from people because they don't really notice them. It's nice, I like it. It's weird and wacky, and that's what I like. I like the weird and the wacky, as you can see. That's great. And then this is a plant pot, and I just throw my deadhead stuff in there. That's what I do. I tend not to take it away, which I should really, because it spoils the view. usually keep it there. And then as I deadhead this rose here, I throw the deadheads into there, because this one, as I said, doesn't really have very good hips. But anyway, so it's looking good. The Cloister Pergola has a way to go yet. We've got a lot of the growing to do up the pergola itself. We've got this rose here, which is Woolerton Old Hall. That's Rosa Woolerton Old Hall, and it's flowered for me. It's a sort of a one-hit wonder. It's supposed to flower twice. It probably will do. There we go. So it's producing more flowers, or more heads ready to flower again. And it will climb up here. It's new in, so it's not going to be doing too much yet. And I will train it up this wire, this reinforcing mesh. And I've got more there, and then we've got the polo there, which is looking nice, and that lovely view of the grass through it. As you can see, always looks good through there. Just waiting for the other roses to get going in here. There's two different types of roses on the back end of this, but we won't name those at the minute, but one of them is lovely. The colour that we get on this one is amazing. One used to be one of my all-time favourites. In fact, I think we should show you, because I've sort of teased you now, and I've teased myself, to be honest. But it produces this wonderful velvety red colour, and it's doing really well. This is Rosa Dublin Bay. So it usually has a nice subtle hint of a certain smell, but it's not doing it at the moment. Nevertheless, it looks great. And then we've got this climbing rose, or it's classed as, it's on the label, it's saying it's a climber, and it's Madame Alfred Carrier, and it says it's a climber, but I've always known it as a rambler. Oh, it has a lovely scent. That flower's got a lovely scent, and you can see it is behaving like a rambler, because I believe it is a rambler. And I've got to be very fast with this one, because it will shoot up there without a problem. But that's exactly what I want it to do. I want it to go around this, and I want to be able to cover that whole section around here. This whole section I want to cover with the rose, keeping the polo clear. Although we will allow some of the leaves to come in, and we'll give it a little bit of an arty touch to that, and it'll look nice. So the Cloister Pergola is lovely. I love it. I do really like this. I know I love everything in my garden, but I do. I really do. And it's looking really good. So that's a little look into the Cloister Pergola, and a little update for you, just so you can see, because things grow so fast and mature so fast. And another 2 years' time I look forward to, because we should start seeing the whole thing clothed in roses, clematis, etc. And that'll be the time. That'll be the time for me to come and sit in here and enjoy the fruits of my labour. So there you go. I'll touch you in the next one. Ta-da!